The rain-slick streets of Seville gleamed under the sodium lamps like veins of molten gold. But Cadence Harper couldn't feel the city's pulse tonight. She clutched the crumpled letter in her fist, the one that had arrived from across the Atlantic like a ghost from her past, its ink smudged from her tears. "I defended you once," it read in her sister's looping script. "But I can't anymore. Not like this." Cadence's boots splashed through puddles as she stumbled toward the old flamenco bar on Calle Feria. The kind of place where secrets dissolved in the smoke of hand-rolled cigarettes and the wail of a guitar. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of jasmine and spilled sangria. And there she was, Camila, her sister, perched on a stool like she owned the shadows, her dark hair cascading over one shoulder, laughing at something a stranger said. The sight hit Cadence like a gut punch. The woman who'd once shielded her from their father's rage now looked like a stranger, her green eyes sharp and distant, a wedding band glinting on her finger like a shackle. "You came," Camila said. Her voice a low drawl laced with that old southern lilt they'd carried from Alabama to this sun-baked exile in Spain. She slid off the stool, her silk blouse whispering against her skin, and for a split second Cadence saw the girl she'd known, the fierce protector who'd stood between her and the world when Cadence came out at 17. But then Camila's smile faltered, and the bar's dim light carved hollows under her eyes. "I wasn't sure you would." Cadence dropped the letter onto the scarred wooden bar, watching it unfurl like a white flag of surrender. The bartender, a grizzled Andalusian with a mustache like a broom, glanced their way but said nothing. Seville had seen worse dramas than two American sisters unraveling in the corner. "You defended me once," Cadence echoed, her voice cracking like dry earth under the Spanish sun. "Remember?" Dad's belt swinging, his face red as the clay out in the olive groves back home. "You threw yourself in front, took the hit for me. Said I was your blood no matter what." Camila's fingers trembled as she reached for a glass of Tinto de Verano, the red wine fizzing softly against lemon slices. She was 35 now, 5 years Cadence's senior, and time had etched lines around her mouth that spoke of regrets unspoken. They'd fled Alabama together 12 years ago, chasing dreams of reinvention in the labyrinthine streets of southern Spain. Cadence with her sketchpad and a heart full of unspoken longings, Camila with her journalism degree and a fire for stories that burned brighter than the Sierra Nevada summers. Their parents had disowned Cadence after the coming-out fight, a storm of Bible verses and shattered plates, but Camila had been the anchor, the one who'd packed the car at dawn and driven them across the ocean to this land of siestas and secrets. "I remember," Camila whispered, her accent slipping into that soft drawl they'd both inherited from their mother, the one who'd died too young from cancer, leaving them to fend against their father's whiskey-fueled storms. "God, how could I forget? You were shaking so hard like a leaf in a hurricane. I told him if he touched you again, he'd have to go through me first." She took a sip, her eyes flicking to the door as if expecting ghosts to barge in. The bar's patrons clapped half-heartedly to a guitarist's mournful strumming, but the sisters were adrift in their own rhythm, a tense bolero of what-ifs and whys. Cadence slid onto the stool beside her, the leather creaking under her weight. At 30, she looked every bit the artist she'd become. Freckles dusted across her nose from too many afternoons sketching in the Alhambra's gardens, her auburn hair cropped short and wild, jeans faded from years of wandering Andalusia's whitewashed villages. She'd built a life here fragile as a Moorish arch, teaching English to wide-eyed schoolkids by day, capturing the raw ache of flamenco dancers on canvas by night. But the letter had cracked it all open. So why this? Cadence jabbed a finger at the paper. "Why now? 12 years, Camila. I wrote you every month after you left, postcards from Ronda's bridges, sketches of the gypsy caves in Sacramento. Nothing. Radio silence. And now you show up in Seville, married to some banker from Madrid, with a kid in tow, telling me you can't anymore?" Camila's laugh was bitter like overripe figs. She set the glass down, the condensation pooling like tears. "It's not that simple, Cadence. You think I wanted to cut you out?" Ma would roll in her grave. Their mother, Eliza Harper, had been the quiet force in their mobile home, baking pecan pies on Sundays, humming gospel tunes while ironing their father's shirts. When Eliza passed, the house turned cold, their father retreating into bottles, and the sisters clung to each other like lifelines. Camila, the golden child, had always been the shield. Acing high school, dreaming of foreign correspondence desks, defending Cadence from playground taunts about her boyish ways even then. But Spain had changed them. The move was Camila's idea, a gap-year adventure that stretched into exile after their father's ultimatum. Fix her, or you're both gone. They'd landed in Malaga first, wide-eyed at the azure Mediterranean, the air thick with orange blossoms. Cadence bloomed there, falling into her first tentative love with a local potter named Maria. Stolen kisses in the Picasso Museum, hands tangled under starlit picnics. Camila watched, encouraging at first, her journalism gigs taking her to Madrid for interviews with expat artists. "You're brave," she'd say, clinking glasses of Rioja. "Braver than me." Then came the shift. Camila met Javier, the suave investment banker with a villa in Marbella, and a smile that promised stability. He was Catholic traditional, the kind of man their father would have approved of. They married in a civil ceremony in Gibraltar, quick and quiet, no family invited. Cadence had been thrilled at first, her sister glowing, talking of starting a family. But the calls grew sparse, the visits halted. When Cadence pressed, Camila's voice turned brittle. "Javier doesn't understand your lifestyle. And neither do I anymore. It's not right, Cadence. For the baby." The baby? Sophia. Born 2 years after the wedding. A curly-haired whirlwind with Camila's eyes and Javier's dimples. Cadence had sent gifts. A tiny flamenco dress from Granada, books of Lorca's poems, but the packages came back unopened. The betrayal stung deeper than their father's rage. A slow poison that seeped into Cadence's art, turning her canvases dark with shadowed figures reaching for hands that pulled away. Tonight, though, Camila had appeared unannounced, tracking Cadence down through a mutual expat friend. "We need to talk," the letter said. "For Sophia's sake." And now, in this bar pulsing with the heartbeat of strangers, Cadence waited for the truth that had eluded her for years. Camila leaned in, her breath warm against Cadence's ear, the scent of her Chanel perfume, a holdover from their Alabama days, stirring memories. "I didn't leave because of you. Not really. It was me, Cadence. Me and my damn cowardice." Her words hung there, fragile as the spiderwebs draping the bar's rafters. The guitarist struck a chord that mimicked a sob, and for the first time in a decade, Cadence saw tears glisten in her sister's eyes. They spilled out into the night after that, the rain easing to a mist that clung to their skin like regret. Seville's Alcazar loomed in the distance, its spires piercing the clouds, a reminder of empires built and broken. Camila linked her arm through Cadence's as they walked, a gesture so familiar it ached. Javier's family, their old money, Cadence. Expecting heirs, traditions. "When I got pregnant, it was like the world narrowed. I saw Dad in him, that unyielding grip. And you were free, painting your truths while I was playing house." Cadence stopped under a wrought iron balcony dripping with bougainvillea, its petals blood red in the lamplight. "Free? You think that's what this is? Maria left me for a fisherman who promised her the world. I've dated women who vanish like smoke because Andalusia chews up foreigners. And you? You had everything, and you threw me away like yesterday's sketch." Camila's face crumpled, and she pressed a hand to her mouth. "I know. God, I know. But Sophia. She's why I'm here. She's asking questions, Cadence. About her tia, Cadence, the artist who sends drawings of dragons and dances. Javier doesn't know I came, but if we don't fix this, she'll grow up thinking her aunt's a myth." The word fix landed like a stone in Cadence's chest. Fix what? The fracture their father had carved? Or the one Camila had widened? They wandered toward the Guadalquivir River, its waters black and murmuring secrets to the bridges arching overhead. Cadence remembered summers here with Camila before the silence. Picnics on the banks, debating Hemingway over Jemana Barrico, dreaming of lives unbound by Mobile's magnolias. As they sat on a stone bench, the city's bells tolling midnight, Camila pulled a small photo from her purse. Sophia, gap-toothed and grinning, holding a crayon drawing of 3 stick figures under a rainbow. "She drew this last week. Said it's us, you, me, and her. But she doesn't know why you're not in the pictures." Cadence traced the lines with a fingertip, her throat tight. "What do you want from me, Camila? Forgiveness? A family reunion with your husband glaring daggers?" "I want my sister back," Camila said simply, her voice breaking on the words. "And I want to tell you why I really left." The confession came in fragments, pieced together like a mosaic in the Triana tile shops. Camila had felt it too, back in Alabama, the pull toward softness, the confusion when girls in her dorm lingered too long in hugs. But fear had won. Their father's shadow loomed large, and Spain's freedoms felt like a mirage. Marrying Javier was armor, Sophia a shield. Yet in quiet moments, watching Cadence's canvases arrive unopened in the mail, guilt had festered. I defended you because I saw myself in you, Camila admitted, her hands twisting in her lap. But when it came time to defend myself, I ran. Dawn crept over the river as they talked, the first light gilding the water. Cadence felt the ice around her heart thaw. Not fully but enough to breathe. Then stay, she said. Bring Sophia. Let her meet her Tia for real. Camila nodded, tentative, and for the first time Cadence saw hope flicker. Not a blaze but a pilot light against the gathering storm. The weeks that followed were a tentative dance, like the flamenco Cadence captured in her sketches. Steps forward, a whirl of passion, then a retreat into shadow. Camila rented a small apartment in Triana, the gypsy quarter across the river, its walls papered with faded posters of bullfights and festivals. Javier remained in Madrid, his job a tether pulling her north every Friday, but he allowed the sisterly visit, unaware of the letters Cadence and Camila exchanged now. Daily missives slipped under doors, filled with apologies and anecdotes. Sophia arrived on a blistering July afternoon, her small suitcase bumping along the cobblestones as Camila led her by the hand. Cadence waited at the door of her own cramped studio above a tapas bar, heart hammering like the drums in a Semana Santa procession. The girl was 8, no 9 now, Cadence corrected herself, time's thief, with ringlets the color of chestnuts and eyes that mirrored Camila's, sharp and searching. She wore a sundress printed with lemons, a nod to Seville's orchards, and clutched a stuffed olive branch toy that Camila swore was her talisman. Tia Cadence? Sophia's voice was a whisper, Alabama twang softened by Spanish schoolyards. She peered up, sizing Cadence with the unabashed curiosity of childhood. Mama said you're the one who draws the sea monsters. Cadence knelt, her jeans scuffing the threshold, and grinned despite the lump in her throat. Guilty. But they're friendly ones, guardians of lost treasures. Want to see? She led them inside, the air thick with the turpentine scent of half-finished oils. Sophia's eyes widened at the canvases leaning against walls, turbulent waves crashing against cliffs near Tarifa, women in flowing dresses mid-twirl under olive trees, their faces alive with unspoken yearnings. Camila hovered in the doorway, her silk scarf fluttering like a flag of truce. She'd lost weight since the bar confession, her cheekbones sharper, but there was a lightness in her step now, as if unburdening had lifted chains. She's been practicing, Camila said, nodding at Sophia's backpack. Show her, Mija. Sophia unzipped the bag and pulled out a spiral notebook, its pages bursting with colors. Crayons depicting families on beaches, sisters holding hands against storm clouds. One page stopped Cadence cold. A trio of figures labeled Mama, Papa, Tia. The Tia with short hair and a palette, standing apart but linked by a rainbow bridge. I made this for you, Sophia said shyly, because Mama said you like colors that tell stories. The gift cracked something in Cadence, a fissure through which warmth flooded. She hugged the girl then, fierce and quick, inhaling the scent of strawberry shampoo and summer sweat. Camila watched, tears brimming, and mouthed thank you over Sophia's head. Those days blurred into a rhythm Cadence hadn't known she craved. Mornings began with café con leche at Mercado de Triana, where Sophia darted among stalls piled with chorizo and figs, begging for samples while Cadence bartered for fresh canvases. Afternoons were for adventures, hiking the Sierras to pick wild thyme, or cooling off in the fountains of Plaza de España, Sophia's laughter echoing off the tiled bridges. Evenings they'd cook paella on Cadence's hot plate, Camila chopping peppers with a precision born of suppressed frustrations, sharing stories of Alabama Christmases laced with spiked eggnog, and their father's reluctant carols. But beneath the idle, fissures lingered. Camila's phone buzzed incessantly, Javier's texts clipped and probing. When are you coming home? Sophia needs routine. She'd silence it, but the shadow fell, turning her smiles brittle. Cadence saw it in the way Camila's gaze lingered on Sophia's carefree sketches, or how she'd pause mid-chop, knife hovering, lost in thoughts she wouldn't voice. One evening, as cicadas chorused outside, they sat on Cadence's balcony overlooking the river's bend. Sophia dozed inside, thumb in mouth, a habit Camila swore she'd outgrow. The sisters shared a bottle of manzanilla sherry, its dry bite cutting through the humid air. He's getting suspicious, Camila confessed, swirling her glass. The city lights twinkled below, fairies gliding like fireflies. I told him it's a sabbatical, time to reconnect with roots. But roots? Ours are tangled, Cadence. Buried under all that dirt Dad shoveled on us. Cadence leaned against the railing, the iron cool under her palms. She'd been seeing someone, a potter named Lucia, with hands scarred from clay wheels and eyes like smoked quartz. Their dates were simple. Walks in Maria Luisa Park, fingers brushing over shared gelato. Lucia knew fragments of Cadence's past, enough to tread gently, but not the full weight of tonight's conversation. Then leave him, Cadence said, the words bolder than she felt. For you. For Sophia. Hell for us. Camila's laugh was hollow, echoing off the stucco walls. And do what? Crawl back to freelancing, dragging a kid through hostels? Javier's not a monster. He's just him. Provides the life I thought I wanted. The one that keeps Dad's ghost quiet. She paused, staring into the sherry's amber depths. Remember the summer before Spain? You and I on the Gulf beaches, burying each other in sand, whispering about running away to Paris or New York. I was the dreamer then. What happened? You happened, Cadence replied softly, no venom left. You chose safety over fire. But fire's what makes us, Camila. It's in your blood, same as mine. The conversation drifted to lighter shores then, memories resurfacing like shells after a tide. Their first Seville feria, drunk on rebujitos and the whirl of polka-dot dresses, the time Cadence's ex, Maria, taught them to throw pots, Camila's vase collapsing into a glorious mess that they all laughed over for weeks. But as the sherry dwindled, Camila's facade slipped further. There's more, she said, voice barely above the river's murmur. About why I really shut you out. Cadence stilled, the night air thickening. Tell me. It wasn't just Javier's family. Or Dad's echo. It was me. Doubting. After Sophia was born, I held her and thought. This is it, my path. But nights when Javier snored, I'd lie awake, remembering how you'd look at Maria. Not with hunger but with home. And I'd wonder if I'd buried that in myself to fit the mold. The admission hung between them, raw and electric. Cadence reached for her sister's hand, their fingers intertwining as they had in childhood forts built from bedsheets. You're not buried, Camila. You're just waking up. But awakenings come with costs. The next morning, Sophia burst into the studio waving a postcard from Madrid, Javier's script bold on the back. Family trip to Costa Brava next week. Be packed. Camila's face paled and she crumpled it, but the damage was done. Sophia, sensing the shift, clung to Cadence's leg. Don't let Mama go, Tia. She smiles more here. That plea ignited the first real spark of conflict. Over lunch at a taberna, amid plates of gazpacho and fried fish, Camila and Cadence argued in hushed tones while Sophia colored on butcher paper. You don't get it, Camila hissed, her fork stabbing an olive. This isn't some indie film where I append everything for sisterly love. Sophia has school friends. Javier's not abusive. He's stable. Stable like a cage? Cadence shot back, her voice rising just enough to turn heads. You defended me from worse. From Dad's stability that left bruises. Don't make Sophia pay for your chains. The words landed like slaps and Camila stormed out, Sophia trailing bewildered. Cadence spent the afternoon sketching furiously, lines jagged as her guilt, until a knock pulled her back. It was Lucia, bearing figs from her garden, her dark braids tied with a scarf. Heard the raised voices from the alley, Lucia said, her Andalusian lilt soothing. Sisters, eh? Like olive oil and vinegar fight, but make the best dressing. They talked late into the evening, Lucia's steady presence a balm. She shared her own scars. A family that shunned her for loving women. A village that whispered. But you build anyway, she said, tracing Cadence's palm. Brick by brick. With people who see you. Inspired, Cadence walked to Triana at dawn, finding Camila on her balcony, staring at the river with red-rimmed eyes. I'm sorry, Cadence began, but Camila held up a hand. No. You're right. But scared doesn't cover it. She pulled Cadence inside where Sophia slept curled on the couch, Javier's coming tomorrow. To surprise us. The confrontation brewed like a storm over the Sierras. Javier arrived in a rented Audi, all pressed chinos and cologne. His handshake firm but his eyes appraising Cadence like a flaw in the facade. Sophia lit up at first, hugging him, but tension crackled as they toured the apartment. Charming, Javier said of the peeling frescoes, but hardly suitable for a child long-term. Camila's jaw tightened, and over dinner, tortillas and salad that no one tasted, the barbs flew. Cadence's family, Camila defended, her voice steady for the first time. Sophia adores her. Javier's smile didn't reach his eyes. Family's important, yes, but influences matter. We've discussed this, Camila. His gaze flicked to Cadence, implication clear as a cathedral spire. The room went still, Sophia's fork pausing midair. Cadence felt the old rage rise, but she swallowed it for the girl. Sophia, she said instead, tell your papa about the dragon we drew yesterday. But the seed was planted. That night, alone in her studio, Cadence's phone buzzed. A text from Camila. He's taking us back. Tomorrow. I can't fight him here. Betrayal round 2. Cadence punched the wall, canvas splintering, then sank to the floor, sobs racking her. Lucia found her there at midnight, wrapping her in strong arms. Let her go, Lucia murmured. Some paths circle back. But Cadence couldn't. Not yet. She spent the dawn drafting a letter, pouring out the love, the hurt, the plea. Come back when you're ready. We'll be waiting. She slipped it under Camila's door at sunrise, the city awakening with vendors' calls. As she walked away, the Guadalquivir gleamed gold, promising nothing but the next bend. Autumn swept into Seville like a jilted lover, stripping the jacaranda trees bare and turning the air crisp with the promise of rain. Cadence threw herself into work, her studio a whirlwind of half-finished portraits. Lucia's profile against sunset cliffs, Sophia's impish grin captured in charcoals. The letter she'd left went unanswered, but whispers reached her through the expat grapevine. Camila back in Madrid, Javier's villa a gilded prison, Sophia starting a new school with stiff uniforms and silent lunches. Lucia became the steady current in Cadence's storm. Their relationship deepened in quiet ways. Nights spent glazing pots in Lucia's workshop, hands caked in clay, talking of futures woven from shared silences. Lucia was 41, a decade Cadence's senior, with laugh lines that mapped a life of quiet rebellions, leaving her fisherman's family in Cadiz for art school in Granada, building a life where love wasn't bartered for approval. My mother still prays for my soul, she'd say, firing a kiln under stars. But I pray for her peace. Cadence envied that resilience, even as she chased it. Holidays loomed. All Saints' Day with its marigold gravesides reminding her of their mother's plot in Mobile. Untended now. She invited Camila via email. Bring Sophia to the cemetery walk in Triana. Ghosts don't bite. But silence replied. Instead, a package arrived. Sophia's notebook, pages filled with new drawings, a note in Camila's hand. She's missing you. As am I. But it's complicated. Complicated. The word festered, fueling Cadence's canvases. Dark dramas of sisters divided by chasms, hands outstretched across voids. Her work caught the eye of a gallery owner in Santa Cruz, a wiry Catalan named Mateo who promised a show. Echoes of Exile. It was validation, a lifeline, but hollow without Camila to share it. Winter bit harder that year. The Sierra Nevada dusted white while Seville huddled under scarves. Lucia urged patience. Wounds heal crooked, but they heal. Yet Cadence's impatience simmered, spilling into arguments. Snapping at students over misplaced adjectives, ghosting Lucia after a tender dinner when vulnerability felt too raw. The breaking point came in February during Carnival. Seville erupted in sequins and satire, streets alive with chirigotas mocking politicians and lovers. Cadence wandered alone, mask painted like a harlequin's tear, when her phone lit up. Camila. Sophia's sick. Flu turned pneumonia. Come to Madrid. Please. The train north was a blur of olive groves and regret, Cadence's sketchpad untouched. Madrid's sprawl assaulted her, neon and noise, a far cry from Seville's intimacy. Javier's villa perched in La Moraleja, all glass and marble, a sterile contrast to Triana's warmth. Camila met her at the door, gaunt and gray, her hair unkempt. She's asking for the tia with the dragons, she whispered. leading Cadence to a room of pastel walls and beeping monitors, a private clinic wing, Javier's money-buying solitude. Sophia lay small in the bed, tubes snaking like vines, her curls matted with sweat. "Tia," she rasped, eyes fluttering open. "Did you bring the sea monster?" Cadence perched on the edge, taking the girl's hand, cool as river stones. "He's in my bag, waiting to guard your dreams." She drew then quick strokes on a bedside notepad. A beast with wings of foam, fierce yet gentle. Sophia smiled faintly, drifting off, and Cadence turned to Camila, accusation burning. "This is what stable gets you? A kid fighting for breath while you play house." Camila collapsed into a chair, head in hands. Javier was absent, business in Barcelona, she'd said. But his presence loomed in the sterile order. "I tried to leave," Camila confessed, voice muffled. "Packed bags last month. But he found out, threatened lawyers, custody. Said I'd ruin Sophia, make her like you." The slur hung unspoken. A ghost from Alabama. Cadence's fists clenched, but pity tempered her fury. "Like me? Happy? Whole?" She paced the room, monitors beeping a metronome to her rage. "You defended me once, Camila. Be that sister again. For her." The vigil stretched days. Nights of lukewarm coffee, days of Sophia's fevered tales. Camila opened like a drought-cracked earth. The isolation of Madrid's high society, Javier's affairs whispered by maids, the way motherhood had both saved and shackled her. "I thought marriage would silence the questions," she admitted one dawn, as snow dusted the clinic's windows, a rarity in Spain. "But it amplified them. Every time Sophia asked about you, it was like a mirror cracking." Cadence listened, the old wound scabbing over with understanding. Javier returned on the third day, his arrival announced by cologne and clipped efficiency. He cornered Cadence in the hallway, his whisper venomous. "You've poisoned her enough. Leave before I make this family matter legal." She laughed, a sharp bark echoing off tiles. "Family? You mean control." But Sophia's crisis demanded truce. They coexisted uneasily, Javier funding treatments, Cadence reading stories of Andalusian nights. Recovery came slow. Sophia discharged to the villa with a regimen of inhalers and rest. Cadence extended her stay, bunking in a guest room that smelled of lemon polish. Evenings with Javier at his club, the sisters reclaimed fragments. Baking magdalenas in the cavernous kitchen, Sophia between them, flour-dusted and giggling. "This is better than Madrid," the girl declared, and Camila's eyes met Cadence's over her head, a spark of the old fire. But Javier's shadow lengthened. He installed cameras for security, monitored Camila's phone. One night, Cadence overheard them in the study, his voice low thunder. "Your sister's a bad influence. That lifestyle. It'll corrupt Sophia." Camila's reply was steel. "She's blood. And she's staying." The ultimatum followed at breakfast, china clinking like accusations. Javier laid it out over croissants. "Choose, Camila. Her or us." Sophia, sensing the chill, slipped away to her room. Cadence stood, plate untouched. "This isn't a choice, Javier. It's a cage." Camila's face was a mask of resolve, but her hands trembled. "Go back to Seville," she told Cadence later, packing her bag. "I'll handle this." Betrayal's knife twisted anew, but Cadence saw the shift. Camila's spine straightening, her gaze defiant. On the train south, a text arrived. "I'm filing. For Sophia. For me. Thank you." Spring unfurled in Seville with tentative grace, azahar blossoms perfuming the air. Cadence's gallery show opened to murmurs of acclaim, critics praising the visceral humanity in her exiles. Lucia was there, hand in hers, whispering pride. But the true bloom came in May. Camila, suitcase in hand, stepping off a bus with Sophia, both windswept and free. "We left him," Camila said simply, hugging Cadence under the orange trees. "Papers served last week. He's fighting, but Sophia's testimony, the drawings, her words, it's our armor." Sophia tugged Cadence's sleeve. "Mama said the truth is like your paintings. It hurts, but it's beautiful." The sisters laughed then, tears mingling as Lucia joined the circle. But freedom's dawn carried dusk. Javier's lawyers circled, custody battles looming like storm clouds over the Guadalquivir. Summer returned to Andalusia with a vengeance. the heat wave baking Seville's tiles until they shimmered like mirages. Camila and Sophia settled into Triana, the apartment above the flamenco bar becoming a patchwork home. Sophia's drawings papering walls, Camila's typewriter clacking late into nights as she pitched stories to international outlets. Tales of expat reinventions, laced with her own veiled truths. Cadence helped where she could, her English classes funding groceries, Lucia's pottery sales chipping in for Sophia's art supplies. The custody war unfolded in Madrid's marbled courts, a drama of depositions and dossiers. Javier's team painted Camila as unstable, influenced by deviant kin. Their words a venomous echo of old Southern sermons. Cadence testified via video link, her voice steady as she recounted Alabama's shadows, the sister's defense that saved her. Camila's the strongest woman I know, she said, camera unflinching. She chose love over fear for her daughter, for herself. Sophia's turn came gently, a child psychologist guiding her through crayons and questions. I want to stay with Mama and Tia. She drew figures hand in hand under suns, not storms. The judge, a stern woman with silver hair, nodded at the evidence. Medical records of Sophia's decline in Madrid, school reports blooming in Seville. Victory came in September, a crisp ruling granting Camila full custody, Javier supervised visits only. He appealed, of course, his pride a wounded bull, but the sisters fortified. Camila's articles gaining traction, Cadence's show selling out, Lucia's quiet strength anchoring them. Sophia thrived, her laughter filling the apartment like sunlight through lattices. Yet scars lingered, humanistic in their imperfection. Camila dated tentatively. A bookseller from Córdoba, kind but cautious, grappling with attractions long suppressed. It's not labels, she confided one evening on the balcony, sherry glasses clinking. It's just opening. Cadence nodded, her own bond with Lucia deepening into commitment. Plans for a shared studio, trips to the Costa de la Luz where waves whispered forgiveness. The climax crested on All Saints' Eve, the city veiling itself in purple veils and candlelight. They walked to the cemetery, Sophia between them, marigolds in hand for Eliza's distant grave, proxied by a lantern lit in Triana's chapel. Javier appeared uninvited, face gaunt under the lanterns, his plea raw. I was wrong. Scared like you said. Let me see her. Camila hesitated, the old protector warring with the new survivor. Sophia stepped forward, small hand in his. Papa, you can visit. But no more cages. The words child simple broke him and them. He nodded, tears carving tracks, and walked away into the night, a man unmoored. In the chapel's glow the sisters embraced, Sophia's arms around their waists. We're the family now, the girl said, and it was truth unvarnished. Years folded forward like an accordion, each pleat a layer of healing. Sophia turned 12 in a sun-drenched garden party, her friends a multicultural swirl, Spanish, American, Moroccan, dancing to reggaeton under string lights. Cadence and Lucia exchanged vows in a quiet civil right by the river, Camila officiating with a grin and a tear. Javier became a peripheral figure, his visits cordial, his growth tentative but real. Camila found her fire again, a book deal for exiles of the heart, memoirs veiled as fiction, exploring the betrayals of blood and the redemptions of choice. Cadence's art evolved, brighter now, figures entwined not in shadow but light, galleries from Barcelona to New York clamoring. One cliffside evening in Tarifa, winds whipping the Atlantic, they stood as a trio. Cadence sketching the horizon, Camila reading aloud from her manuscript, Sophia chasing gulls with a kite shaped like a dragon. The sun dipped, painting them gold, and Camila turned to Cadence. I defended you once. But you defended me back, showed me how to stand. Cadence smiled, Lucia's hand warm in hers. We're all defenders now. Of each other. The waves crashed approval, and in that moment, the truth Sophia had unwittingly revealed years ago, not just in drawings but in her unyielding love, bound them eternal. Betrayal's echo faded, replaced by a harmony humanistic and profound. Flawed souls mended by grace, dancing on the edge of forever.